But first, you'll remember during the election campaign, Anthony Albanese pledged to return the Port of Darwin to Australian hands and away from Chinese ownership. He rushed to beat Peter Dutton to that announcement, phoning in unexpectedly to ABC local radio in Darwin to say that he'd buy the port back if necessary. But details, when pressed, were pretty thin on the ground.
So I just need to be clear here. Are you announcing that the Labor government will buy back the Port of Darwin lease off Landbridge?
What we are doing is we will enter into negotiations to do that. That is what we've been doing informally through potential buyers up to this point already. So
are you buying back the lease of the Port of Darwin or not?
Well, what we're doing is trying to get to see if there's a private buyer through particularly superannuation funds that we've had discussions with. They have sanded out Landbridge as well. We want that to be the case, but we want it.
So the Prime Minister's preference was for a private firm to buy the port rather than spend government funds, although he kept that option open. This was a change in position from just 18 months earlier when he ruled out any intervention. In October 2023, Albanese said that he had accepted the report of his own agency that the Chinese-linked company would continue to operate the lease. And he said at the time the issue was resolved, done and dusted. But then in the election campaign, he changed his tune and he said he wanted the port to return to Australian ownership.
So you're making sure you have a buyer first before you announce those plans?
Well, we want it to be in Australian hands. We prefer that it be through superannuation funds or some other vehicle.
Albanese had been so fixated on stealing Peter Dutton's thunder by announcing he wanted to cut ties with the Chinese first that he made the announcement before he had an actual plan, or any plan for that matter. So as you just heard, he said he wanted the Port of Darwin returned to Australian ownership. But now it seems there's another foreign buyer. This one, at least, is our strategic ally. The Australian reports on the front page today that an American private equity company with close ties to the Trump administration is set to bid to buy the port from Chinese billionaire Yi Chang. The US firm, Cerberus, it was formerly run by Trump's Deputy Secretary of Defense, Steve Feinberg. And the company is reportedly about to put in an offer for around $500 million. Now, this is only slightly more than the amount Landbridge paid for it a decade ago. And they're looking, the Chinese company Landbridge, that is, they're looking for an offer around double that at $1 billion. Now, China is taking this seriously. Its ambassador visited the port last week, and there could be consequences to our diplomatic relationship if Australia insists on breaking the 99-year lease. Now, as you know, Albanese will be loath to upset Beijing. He thinks cozying up to Xi makes him a master at foreign policy. But as the Australian's editorial today says, that if the Chinese-owned company Landbridge refuses an offer from a US fund to buy the Port of Darwin and no Australian offer emerges, Albanese will need to make good his commitment during the election campaign to force the port from Chinese hands if no suitable buyer emerged. Because there is a strong argument against having the Chinese retain control of our critical infrastructure. The Chinese government has, in recent months, stepped up its posturing and aggression towards Australia. There was the warship engaging in live-fire exercises off our coast, the spy ship circumnavigating the southern coastline. And this is about our strategic interest, our national security and sovereignty. It's absurd, really, to think that Albanese is spending some $16 billion to pay off the HEX debt of young voters to buy their vote. Yet he wouldn't step in to pay just $1 billion for the Port of Darwin. His priorities, as usual, are way out of whack.